Welcome to Exit 425. My name is Steve Ray. Around the world, communities build and celebrate collegiality with different variations of Good Neighbor Days. Some celebrate in June, some in March, and some in September. And no doubt there are variations throughout the year. Wherever or whenever these celebrations started, they are buoyed by people like Jimmy Carter, the iconic President of the United States, who is attributed with the peaceful ideal that as our nation struggles to build friendship among the peoples of this world, we are mindful that the noblest human concern is concern for others. Understanding, love, and respect build cohesive families and communities. During the 1963 March on Washington, which was a civil rights demonstration with a focus on rights for Black people in America, Rabbi Joachim Prinz said in his address, which was literally just prior to Martin Luther King Jr.'s, "Neighbor is not a geographic term. It is a moral concept. It means our collective responsibility for the preservation of man's dignity and integrity." In 1968, the world started to hear the plaintive "Won't You Be My Neighbor" from Fred Rogers as he used his TV show to encourage community, starting with our children. There is no doubt that community and strong neighbor connections are important. Today's guest, Colette Descent, will talk about some of these benefits as we discuss her initiative to celebrate Neighbors Day in Clarington, along with some of the challenges there are to building neighbors in Clarington. Colette Descent, thank you for joining me today to discuss building neighbors right here in Exit 425 and throughout Clarington.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for your beautiful introduction.
Colette, how did you get to this point where you want to see an overt effort to build community in Bowmanville and Clarington? Are your neighbors that bad?
I've got great neighbors. Trust me on that. To answer your question, research has shown that nourishing neighborhood connection leads to stronger and more resilient communities. I have great neighbors, and I know I can attest that Clarington already has a very vibrant community spirit. However, as the population is expected to rise by about 45% by 2031, it's essential that we welcome all our new residents with open arms. Our sense of belonging and the quality of our connections are inseparable from happiness. So it's imperative to continually support our communities as they grow and expand. And did you know that feeling connected is the #1 predictor of positive outcomes in terms of health and happiness? Not everybody has family, not everybody has good friends, but everyone has a neighbor. So when we weave vibrant, welcoming, and caring neighborhoods, we help shape a more healthy and sustainable society. So that's the motivation behind my actions. And you know what? To be a good neighbor just starts with a smile, a hello, and maybe a block party.
And connections are so critical. I know as a secondary school teacher and administrator, one of the big things that we always wanted for our students, especially if they're nervous, was to build connections with teachers and with other students as quickly as possible. So that makes sense that is an important part of having a strong community. Sometimes neighbors get a bad rap. Wilson on Home Improvement was a good, funny version of the nosy neighbor. Gladys Kravitz on Bewitched, for those who are older or have deja vu, she wasn't quite so friendly. What is the benefit of having neighbors who are just attentive enough?
So again, every person has their own flavor and is just finding the sweet spot. But as I mentioned, the good neighborly connections drive happiness. And the benefits of having smooth or working on smoothing relations with your neighbors. Overall, you get better student performance, lower crime rates, kids feel safer, people live longer, and the physical and mental health outcomes are more positive. If kids feel safe on the street, it's shown that anxiety will lessen, stress, worry. So even knowing your cranky neighbor by name helps smooth, right? A smile will disarm any crank. So all these benefits that I mentioned earlier help connection. And sometimes just knowing your neighbor on a first name basis. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to be hosting huge block parties, but hi, Etta, how are you? Hey, Raj, how's it going? People like hearing their name and makes them feel good. So in the end, good neighborhood relationships, and we all have to work at that, help the communities become more self-sufficient, effective, caring. And this creates the foundation of citizen engagement and empowerment. If people feel cared for and connected, they're more willing to step up when it needs to happen.
What is your thinking about a special Neighbors Day in Clarington? Is it you talked about at least knowing somebody's name, but are we talking about a rally of thousands, a barbecue in the driveway? And what sort of date are you looking at?
So globally, in most countries, World Neighbor Day is celebrated on June the 1st. Some countries do it May the 31st. The US is different. They do it in September. But generally, first Saturday of June is when they do it. That's what in Quebec, everybody, June the 1st. So basically, all the residents of Clarington, so from Curtis, Bowmanville, Newcastle, Orono, and the 14 hamlets that make up the community, will be celebrating Clarington's first annual World Neighbor Day on June the 1st. So this is basically a festive and unifying event that encourages everybody to gather, to share food, to share fellowship, to welcome new neighbors, and to create fun events on their street, on their block, in their condo, in their building, in their long-term senior residence, on their farm, or in their driveway. So everybody takes the initiative for doing something on their street. Talk to your neighbors. Say we're going to have, for example, on my street, I'm going to have a Hawaiian pizza party with tropical punch, and people will bring in a donation for the East Clarington Food Bank, and they get a piece of pizza. But I mean, the possibilities are endless. Your creativity and imagination is the only limiting factor. So I'll give you a list of ideas I sourced from National Good Neighbor Day in the US. Block party, food drive, book exchange, pizza party, walking tour, park cleanup, barbecue, potluck, happy hour, community garden, yard sale, kids sidewalk art contest, ice cream social, tool sharing, street basketball, cookie exchange, pancake breakfast, coffee and muffin stand. It's just limitless. And you don't have to do a big thing. You could just say to your neighbor who's elderly, hey, let me get your groceries for you today. And that's already a big thing. So everybody just has that in their mind. It's World Neighbor Day. What can we do? A big party, a little party, just acts of generosity. That's all that matters. So again, Saturday, June 1st, all of Clarington. Let's do it.
That's exciting. Is this sort of thing happening anywhere else on June 1st?
Yes. So in the province of Quebec, 155 municipalities celebrate La Fête des Voisins, which is their French version. In Europe, 1,400 cities, and that's about 30 million people, come out to connect with their neighbors. There was an article in the New York Times in August talking about Paris has created a republic of super neighbors. And of course, you either bring the wine, the cheese, or the baguette for the party. So it's in Australia, in Melbourne, in Sydney. It's on all 5 continents. And of course, it's in the US in September, National Good Neighbor Day. In fact, it was Jimmy Carter, the former US president, who proclaimed National Good Neighbor Day in 1978. So the idea has been around for decades. It's just Canada's not really getting in on the party very quickly. Quebec, yeah, they like to party. But in Canada, we've got Kelowna, Thunder Bay, and Calgary. That's it. Calgary's been doing it for 10 years. And I think suburbs of Edmonton are starting. But I think if we start encouraging people to do it in Clarington, that might spill out to the rest of Durham, and it ripples out, hopefully. So, but I thought, hey, let's get going on that.
That's a great idea. In Clarington, we've got so many people that are commuting, and as soon as they get home, they're off to take the kids to, at this time of year, I guess, baseball, soccer, dance. It could be any number of different things, including all the sports and all the arts that kids are involved with, churches, which are also very busy. All these different things are demanding of our time and probably taking time away from, just leaning over the fence or, calling over the fence and chatting with the neighbor in the evening when everybody's sitting around a little bit. So this sort of overt, intentional thing could be very good to build some good neighbor connections, which is obviously the whole point. Have any of our local politicians expressed support for this kind of effort? I know Lloyd Rang put us together to chat. So anyone else?
Yeah, so I cornered Mayor Foster last fall, and I asked him to proclaim World Neighbor Day. I sent him an email, and he did that. He wrote a proclamation with June the 1st. I talked to Councillor Rang, and he was all excited, and he told me he would be taking it to council and challenge the other councillors, so I hope that's happening. I know they've been talking about it in the municipal office because I got an email from the Clarington's community engagement director. Her name is Vanessa Bilenduki Guppy, and she wants to flesh out neighborhood strategies. So we'll be talking about that. What makes me think that this really will work well is last fall, I decided to have a hot chocolate social on my street as part of another volunteer organization I belong to. And so I sent a flyer to all my neighbors, Sunday, 2 to 4, hot chocolate and cookies in my driveway. Well, 58 people showed up. Adults, kids, people brought some muffins, people brought flowers, some people brought freezies. All the little kids were riding their bikes around. We had sidewalk chalk. They were doing their art. One little kid saw the other kids riding without his training wheels, so he wanted his training wheels off, so he learned to ride. And it was a really good event for people to get to know each other. They see each other. They don't know their names. Now they do. And it really, they all loved it. So I thought, well, let's keep that going. So my wish would be for our municipality itself, at the municipal government, to become a very strong ambassador for World Neighbor Day in Clarington every year. And hopefully it starts rippling out to other municipalities. I know in the province of Quebec, they've got a provincial organization called Espace Muni, which supports all the municipalities in effecting the celebrations, broadcasting, ambassadoring. And also, if people can find partners, so we've got ambassadors who promote it, we've got the participants who create the parties, but sometimes partners might be useful. I'm going to talk to Pizza, see if we can have a joint collaboration in getting a deal on the pizza, so they would be a partner. I mean, it starts with hello, a smile, a little street gathering, and we'll see where it goes. It could just get really big, or it could just like die. I don't know, but I will keep trying.
I think it's a terrific idea, and I'm sure all of us at some point, if we haven't done it already, have thought about, wouldn't it be nice just to have the neighbors over and have a little barbecue and share some food, some drink, and a nice sunny evening, and hopefully it's a sunny evening. We won't tell anyone that we're trying to do something special on June 1st, because it seems when we have special days, the weather turns out to be poor.
The eclipse.
The eclipse is one great example, right? So, I think the idea is there for a lot of people, and this might just be what it takes to take the initiative to make sure that it happens. And wouldn't that be terrific?
And, I would add, even if it just plants the seed for being just a little more aware of neighborliness and connection. And I mean, we don't have to just keep it to June the 1st. Yeah. Being a good neighbor year round, it really will help build connections. So even if that promotion of this event just plants a seed, yeah, maybe I'll just, connect a little more, say hi a little more instead of just looking away.
And that's community, isn't it? And that's where community becomes a really helpful thing for everybody. So I think that's terrific. Have you ever had, or do you have a special neighbor? When I was younger, had special neighbors, and one man particularly, Barry Wooten, who kept an eye out for a crazy teenager out in the country, and family across the road, the Oskies and their farm, and I had ball hockey friends as a kid, and I've got a wonderful group of neighbors now. Are you inspired by your neighbors?
Yeah, and you remember your neighbors from your childhood, and it makes your heart feel warm and makes you feel cared for and connected. And that's so vital for flourishing and thriving as a person and as a family. When I grew up in Quebec, all the neighborhood moms would watch out for us. But my favorite one was Madame Provencher. She always winked and gave me a cookie. Like, it was just a wink. Never forgot that. And right now, our street, because it's a lot of new people, it was a new build street. So everybody was kind of new. We all know each other well. I shovel Raj's driveway. He'll give me samosas. I cut the other neighbor's lawn. I get Albanian cake. It's like, I'm kind of obviously partial to food, but it creates a connection, and their kids know it's safe because we all look after each other. So it's quite wonderful to have that. But I don't know if all neighborhoods have that. And if we can build on that, that would be fantastic.
And if they do, and they're already being good neighbors like you and your neighbors, then why not celebrate it and have another good reason for a party? And one thing I knew about growing up in Eastern Ontario and the Ottawa area is that they loved festivals and parties. And I'm sure that was equally true across the river in Quebec. So, it's just another good reason to have a barbecue with your neighbors, right? Or I like how you pointed out different activities that could be covered all day long. So you could have a good neighbor breakfast and a little lunch, and then a barbecue for supper. And, who knows what you could do through the evening sitting out on the front lawn, right? So good reason to celebrate all day long. Colette, thank you so much for meeting me here at Exit 425 and talking about World Neighbor Day and how we would like to celebrate that on June 1st. The first Saturday in June, you said, in Clarington. And so we'll all hope for wonderful weather that day, and that everybody's home so we can celebrate and share some time together.
Thank you very much, Steve, and for hosting your podcast. It's of benefit for all the residents in your area.
Again, trying to build community. So thank you for those who are listening or watching this episode of Exit 425. Please like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and on YouTube. Our mission is to provide substantial information and education that goes where you want, because it's where we live. Exit 425 is a production of Studio 38 Audio, copyright 2024. My name is Steve Ray. If you have questions or would like more information about Exit 425, join our Exit 425 Facebook group, like the Facebook page, check out Instagram, Medium, LinkedIn, X, and TikTok, or email me at exit425401@gmail.com. And for the adult version of the civics class, check out Explain It Like I'm 7, which is a new Facebook page, and soon will be its own podcast. Exit 425. It's where we live.